Alright, so here's the starting position. I got two options right here off the bat that I can notice right here on the map. To my right over there, if I was to head towards this direction, I have a keep, and I also have a labyrinth. There's a village right over here, but if I decide to go this way, I have a village as well, a white crystal mine, and another keep. It looks like I have enough movement so far my starting hand to, well, easily get to that village over there with the in the plains, whereas the other one might take me a few turns. I mean, I could make it to the village in the hills to the right. That would cost me about, let's see, 2, 4, about 7 movement. I mean, I could probably pull it off, but it'd be a little bit more expensive than I'd be willing to have. Alright, so seeing as we haven't decided on our starting cards yet, we will get to see which one of these I want to pick. Normally, whenever I start in the beginning, I like to go with Great Start. Usually my hand's one that doesn't look all that great, but I think in this case, I'm going to go with Planning. The reason is I'm going to be more conservative. I'm going to go to the left, probably just spend one card in the beginning, and then hopefully be able to have a higher hand size and draw some influence cards so I can recruit in the village. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Planning. Now we're going to draw for the dummy player and see which card he picks. Well, looks like he gets a Great Start, but seeing that Planning is a 4 and Great Start's a 5, I'll be going first in the round. Now for the dummy player in this game, I'm going to be keeping track of him with my phone app. It'll make things a little less fiddly. So here in the source we can see we have a blue, white, and green mana crystal. So I have both Stamina and March, which both take either a white or a green, or I'm sorry, a green or a blue mana. So I think for my first turn, I'm going to actually use the Stamina and use the blue token. Play the Stamina, and that'll give me move 4. That's 2 and 4. And that ends me right there on the village. And I think with that action, I'm going to take the end of my turn. Looks like we got another blue. Now with my drawing phase, since I have Planning and I have at least 2 cards in my hand limit is 1 higher. So I drew Promise, which is very fortunate because that's exactly what I needed, and Crystallize. Alright, so the dummy player is now gone. Now it's our turn again. Now, as you can see here in the unit pile, there are 3 different units we can recruit. In the single or solo conquest, we only have 3 mana in the mana source and 3 units that we can recruit from. Being that I'm in the village right now, I'm actually looking to recruit the peasants. You can see it has the icon right there that you can recruit in the village, and it'll cost me only 4 influence. This time in the game I haven't really done anything negative, so my influence modifier will be 0 on my reputation track since I'm neutral, so I'll take no penalties there. Alright, so this turn I'm going to play my influence, or promise. It says I can do influence 2 or influence 4 for its stronger effects. So I'm going to be powering that with a white mana. Influence 4. And I will be purchasing the peasants. They cost influence 4. And I'll be placing them right here underneath my command token. Now here, in the very beginning, we start off with this 1 command token, but as we level up, these tokens right here, once we pass, level 1 and 2, this will flip over and become a new command token, and it will show right here the new level up token that levels 3 and 4. So as we level up, it'll take about 2 levels before I can recruit somebody else. But for right now, I am able to have the units, the peasants. Alright, and that'll be it for this turn. So I will discard this card, re-roll the die. We got green mana. Being that my hand limit is still one higher, instead of drawing up to 5 cards, I dropped to 6, so I drew Tranquility. Now it is dummy player's turn. Alright, now things get a little trickier, because I finally accomplished what I wanted to. I got the peasants, and I recruited in the village. But I still don't have the cards I want in my hand. And not only that, but the dummy player, he keeps track of when the round will be declared. So if I take too long in using my cards, the dummy player can actually end up, emptying out his deck and declaring a round, and I will have all these cards in my entire deck that I haven't even gone through. So I'm going to take this time to actually take a reputation hit and do this action right here. It's called Plundering. It says during another player's turn, you can plunder a village. You take a negative reputation hit, and you get to draw 2 cards. So hopefully, by the act of plundering, I'll have more options and be able to do have a bigger turn, so to speak, being able to play more cards and do more. So I'll take a reputation -1. Now we'll draw 2 cards. So we got a swiftness and another stamina. So now we have a little bit more options. I happen to have more movement, so if I wanted to, I can play a larger turn and potentially actually get to that keep and be able to take it out. Depending on what's in there, will determine if I actually want to go in there or wait till the next turn. So I think for this movement, I might actually want to at least get next to the keep so that I can reveal and see what's inside. Now, normally in Mage Knight, if you start taking your turn and realize it's not going to work out, you're able to take back any number of turns, except for these exceptions. One of them being if any new information is revealed on the board, or if you draw a card or anything you have done up to that point will be locked in. So that makes this turn over here, where we're trying to reveal this keep, a little trickier, because I have to actually commit a certain amount of cards and mana to actually move on there and have some left over, because once I see what's inside, there could very possibly be something I won't be able to take out. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this blue mana crystal, or this blue mana from the source, and I'm actually going to play my Crystallize. Now if I use the Crystallize with a blue mana, it says I can gain a crystal of any color to my inventory. Since I don't have any white up there in the mana source, I'm going to use that to generate a white crystal. I'm going to go ahead and keep that white crystal out here. With that, I want to power Mana Pool. Now, Mana Pool is one of Erithia's special cards. It's the second that comes with the Lost Legion. Usually in the base game, you only have one unique card per each character. But with Lost Legion, you get access to 2 unique cards. And this one in particular, it has kind of a change from the mana draw that everybody else has, where just a few changes. Anyways, with the powered effect, it says you take 2 mana from the source, and I can summon to any color except gold, and I gain a mana token of each of these colors. So with the other mana draw, it just gave you changed 1 token or 1 mana die, and changed it to 1 color and got 2 tokens of the same. This one kind of gives you the ability to change 2 mana in the source and have 2 different color tokens. So I want to change one of them to green, so that I can power concentration if I need to. And, well, actually it looks like just how it is right now, I'm just going to keep it that way, green and green. So just in case it tends to be really nasty, we can use this Tranquility over here and be able to heal up some wounds. So we will be keeping it green and green. Actually, with that being said, I just looked at the board and I realized what I wanted to do. I'm going to be changing it to blue and green. And that way I can power that stamina and be able to use it for move 4. So I'll be getting move 4. and I need to generate 2 more movement. Now, the question is, I happen to have, well, I have March in here. I have it for move 2 or move 4. I got Swiftness, move 2, range attack 3. I'm going to hold on to Swiftness because I might need that for an attack. And then I have my Peasants that can generate move 2. What I'm going to do is go ahead and actually use up my March for its weaker effect to give me move 6. That's 3 and 6. So far I've used up all my movement. So up to this point, once I reveal, everything that I've done will be locked into place. All my movement is spent. I can't take that back. I won't be able to power up. I won't be able to power up March in hindsight once I reveal that, because I've already used it for the move 2. And we will see what we have in the keep. Alright, so we have these guys over here. Actually, it's not a bad guy to fight at all. He's not that strong. Even if he gets through, he'll probably just do the maximum 2 wounds to me. It only takes 4 to kill, and he gives me 3 fame if I kill him, which will level me up. And he's got Swiftness, which, unless I was intending to block him, won't really affect me. So at this point, I need move 3 to get in there. And I've already used up all my movement, so now I need to decide at this point how I'm going to move in to take him out. With Swiftness, I have move 2, and I have the range attack 3, and I also have move 2 through my Peasants. But if I use both of those, I will not have enough attack to take out the units inside the keep. So what I'm thinking I'm going to, or actually, if I use concentration with the green, I'll be able to generate a range attack 5. So if I do it that way, I will be able to take them out. So that means I'll be using my Peasants for their movement 2, and I will be playing Determination sideways. So that, I think that's what I'm going to do. Determination sideways for move 1, and my loyal Peasants will carry me on their shoulders and walk me into the keep for a move 2. That'll be a total of move 3, and I will move into this site. Now, whenever you're attacking a fortified site, you take a reputation hit. So I'm going further into the negative range, and I now have a -1 to my reputation. And now we see if we can begin the attack. Okay. So the first phase, we go through a range and siege attack phase. And I have range cards, and normally this range attack 5 combination that I had would have been sufficient to kill him if he was out in the open. The problem is fortified units or enemies, they have this thing called fortifications, where only siege attacks are able to penetrate that. So during a range and siege attack phase, I will not be able to use my range attack 3. I have no way of negating that. So what happens next is we go into what is called the block phase. And during this phase of the match, we see if we're able to block. Normally it'd be a block 4 and I could generate that, but he's got Swiftness. And what that means is I have to generate twice the amount of block of his attack to be able to successfully block it. In this game, you block all or nothing. So it's not if I block 3 points, he only do 1 damage to me. If I don't block all that 4, then he, all that damage will get through. So since I don't have enough to generate, I'm going to have to go straight into the assigned damage phase. Now if I was to take the damage to myself, I could take 2 wounds. Or I could assign one of those wounds to my Peasants. They could absorb 3 of that. But I would still have 1 more wound to carry over to my character. The way this game works in the wounding is if an enemy can do at least 1 point of damage to you, you take a wound, and then you subtract that damage according to your armor. So he'll be doing 4 points of damage at least to me, so I'll take 1 wound, and then you subtract the 2, but that'll still leave 2 more points of damage to assign. So then once again, I'll subtract it 2 more, so I'll take another wound, and then that leaves 0 points of damage left to assign to me. So it goes, you get wounded first, then you subtract your armor, there's any damage left, you get wounded again. And then it goes on until the enemy's at effectively 0 damage left to assign. Alright, so the enemy wounded me. I'm going to take the wounds rather than assign them to the villagers. I'm going to place 2 of these wounds into my hand. And then finally, you go to the last phase of the attack at the assigned damage phase, and then you go to the attack phase. During the attack phase, any kind of attacks you can use to finish off the enemy, including range and siege attacks. Sometimes the misconception is if a card says ranged or siege attack, some people get confused and think that you can only use those during the range and siege attack phase. No, it's just that these cards, you're able to use them during that phase, but any card can be used, if it generates attack, no matter what type, during the attack phase. So I'm going to go ahead and power up Concentration. Concentration will give me an additional attack +2 if I power it up. So this becomes a range attack 5. Now that attack is enough to, we have to equal or greater than their armor, and 5 is greater than 4, so we will be defeating this enemy. So the enemy has been defeated, and we have conquered the keep. So you place one of your little shield icons over the keep, just signify that you own it. And then we'll be moving our shield tracker up 3, because that's the amount of fame that the enemy awards. So 1, 2, 3. As you can see, we've crossed over to the next row. So every time you cross over a row, that means you level up. So that will be important over here once we hit the end of our turn, which normally at the end of your turn we can play healing cards. You just can't heal during combat, but before and after combat you can play healing cards. Any card that has this little symbol right there, that has the palm symbol, signifies that it can be played as a healing card. Sometimes there'll be cards that say ready a unit, so on and so forth, but they'll have this little healing phase, or just heal the palm. So that means that it can only be played, anytime you can play a healing card, which is before or after combat. I have 2 wounds and I have this card. However, I have, I would like to use it to do the heal 2. I have no more mana and I don't want to use it just for a heal 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to that and I'll wait till the next turn to heal up. So that will be the end of my turn. I'll roll this die. And we got another blue, so that'll go back to the source. These are all the cards I used up. They'll go in my discard pile. And now we go to the level up. So the first thing you do when you level up is you'll draw 2 of your skills, which are these little rectangular cardboard bits, and flip them over. And we'll be able to choose only one of these. So you got a decision to make. This one says once that little rounded arrow pointing down, that means that once around you can flip this over, and this will generate me a red crystal and either a red token or a black token. Now Arithia, one of her things that she's known for is her ease of generating black mana. Black mana you can't keep as a crystal, neither can you keep gold mana as a crystal, but one of the only ways to really have that is if you get it from the source or from abilities like this, which is really good. This one right here is Motivation, which once around I can flip this and draw 2 cards. If I have the least amount of fame, I also generate a red mana token. I believe in the solo, I'll correct this if I'm wrong later on, but during the solo you always are considered to have the least amount of fame, so you always draw that red token. I think this will be a stronger skill to go with, so I'm going to go ahead and go with, let's see what the official name is. I think it's called Darkfire Magic is the name of this. I will keep that, and this one, what ends up happening, which in the solo won't really matter for us anyway, is this one goes to the common this common skill pile. And what this pile is, especially during multiplayer games, is whenever you have a skill that you don't use, you put your unused skill over here, so that if an opponent wants to grab it, or a teammate, they can grab it. So what happens next is our dummy player, our dummy player, since we're playing solo, he'll draw a skill as well and put it in there. And it looks like this one is the one where once around you can flip it over to either ready a unit or heal a unit, which, you know, like next time we level up, maybe we might have strong units, we might actually want to keep that one. Last part of the leveling up phase, we get to choose an advanced action. Now this is only, this whole entire thing where you draw skills and the cards, it's only every other row that you level up. It's not every time, as you'll see next time we level up. So we have 3 choices over here. I got counterattack, which lets me attack 2 and get, attack 2 and get an additional attack 2 for each enemy block, or attack 4, additional attack 3 for each enemy block. So if I'm going block heavy, this would be a good card. You know, we got refreshing walk. I would move 2 and heal 1, and you could do a move 4 and heal 2, which, you know, that's a pretty decent card to have. It gives you movement and it combines a healing, so you essentially get, you know, 2 cards for the price of 1. If you notice, our tranquility is heal 1 or heal 2. This was move 2, move 4, so it combines 2 cards. Really good card to have too. Last but not least, we have Shield Bash. Block 3 counts twice against an attack with swiftness. Or block 5 and counts twice against attack with swiftness, and blocked enemy gets -1 armor for each point in block higher than needed to a minimum of 1. Shield Bash is that can be a pretty good card too. There's towards the end of the game, there's gonna be a lot of enemies that have swiftness that actually have nasty abilities, or, you know, high damage that you might want to block. This one's one to consider too. I think for this game right now, I'm going to go with Refreshing Walk. Just because, you know, we're already taking wounds, and this will give you more movement ability. That card, hopefully the Shield Bash will still be in the pile to be able to draw later. At the end of each round, all the cards in the bottom row will be discarded and added to the dummy player's deck, whereas the spell side will turn into a crystal to generate for the dummy player. So what happens next is the card that we will place on the top of your draw deck. And then we draw up to our hand limit. When cards do count towards your hand size, so planning would go into effect. So since I have 3 cards in my hand, I will get 1 hand limit higher. One thing I didn't discuss either was one of the special things about the keep is if you end your turn on or next to a keep that you own, you have, let me show you the card. Your hand limit is 1 higher too. You can recruit units with the keep icon here. If you end your turn on or adjacent to a keep you own, your hand limit is 1 higher for each keep you own. So if we get more keeps during the game, our hand limit gets 1 higher. So instead of my hand limit being 5, I'll have 6 for the planning plus 1 more for the keep. So I'll get to draw up to 7 cards. I'll immediately have a Refreshing Walk, the card that we just leveled up with, so it gives me more healing options. Yay! So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Alright, now our turn is finally ready to be over. I will go ahead and trigger the dummy player. Alright, now it is back to our turn again. So we have a blue, and a green in the mana source. And we got some new looking cards over here. Looks like our 2 new ones. Well, besides the Refreshing Walk that we've already gone over. We got Rage, another Swiftness, and Battle Versatility. Gives us an attack 2, block 2, range attack 1, or attack 4, block 4, attack 3. Okay, y'all can read that too. Gives us a lot more options when it comes to our attacking. Since I'm on the edge of the map, I think it would be a good time to start moving out towards exploring the map. Normally I was going to use Tranquility to heal, but now that I have Refreshing Walk, I can kind of shoot or knock 2 birds out with 1 stone. So I think I'm actually going to play Refreshing Walk and power it over with a green mana. That'll give me move 4 and heal 2. So I'm going to go ahead and heal these 2 wounds. Now whenever you heal wounds, you actually throw them away for each point of healing that you've used. So since I've used 2 points of healing, I will throw them back over here, replace them on the wound pile. Now, healing only counts towards cards in your actual hand. If you have cards or wound cards in your discard pile, it will not count for that, so you can't retroactively go and dig up your discard pile for wounds that you may have. They have to be in your hand. Alright, so I did that, healed to 2, and I'm going to go ahead and explore a tile. Now, once again, once you reveal something, everything you've done up to that point is locked in place. So I can't change that refreshing walk for something else once I reveal a new tile. So I'm going to go ahead and explore. I'm going to explore on the left hand side over here. She's adjacent there. Alright, so we have looks like a campsite. That's something that's added on to with the Lost Legion expansion. Another lab or maze. Marauding orcs. I'll reveal over here. And ooh, that's a doozy of one. And we have a monastery. We will draw a card from the advanced actions pile and put it next to the source. That's to say that you can train in the monastery for 6 influence and actually pick up this card. For this case, we picked up learning, gives you influence 2, and you can pay 6 to gain advanced action and put it on your discard, or influence 4 and pay 9 to gain an advanced action and put it in your hand. Might be something to consider. You know, if you have a lot of influence, you can use that and start, you know, buying more action cards, or advanced actions, which in the end of the game gives you points. So that's always a good thing. All right. So out of the 4 movements that we've generated through Refreshing Walk, we've used 2 of them. This is tricky. I think instead of using that 2 movements to start moving, since I don't really have a lot of movement in my hand to get anywhere I want, I'm going to use the second 2 points to reveal another tile. So that's going to be all 4 of my movement points. We revealed another Marauding Orc, and this one's right next to us, and that's pretty good because that means, you know, if I have no more movement, I can just go ahead and attack him. We have a Mage Tower in the middle of the desert, and another village over here. Now, something that I kind of just implied but didn't explain, with these fortified sites, they stay unrevealed until you are next to them, and then you reveal them. Also, whenever there's a fortified enemy, you have to go into the space that they're occupying to attack them. Versus these green guys, these marauding orcs, you're just adjacent to them and attack them. That might cause a little bit of confusion in the future, but yeah. With these green guys over here, you can attack them just being on adjacent space. Also, if I was to move from one adjacent space of this guy to the next one, I provoke them, which means that my turn ends right here, or as far as for movement's sake, and I am forced into an attack action against the rampaging enemy is what I guess they call the term for it. Alright, so I've used up all 4 movement points. I actually like where this tile is, because instead of having to go this way, I can go this way towards the monastery. I mean, let me actually focus in on the mazes over here. The mazes are good, and actually it might play more into the next round. The problem with them is that they're very movement heavy. If you notice, there's 3 numbers. You got 2, 4, and 6. So once you get on there, it's what's called an adventure site. Once you get onto this spot, you have to pay movement, depending on what kind of adventure you want to have. And the higher amount of movement you pay, the better the rewards are for defeating the enemy that's inside the maze. The problem is that 2 is rarely ever, I mean, you get 2 crystals for your reward. The maze, your rewards are 2 if you pay 2 movement, or 2 crystals if you pay 2 movement. You get a spell if you pay the 4, and if you pay 6, you get an artifact. Now, I like artifacts just because they're relatively easy to use and they're usually pretty strong. You know, with spells, you have to invest, you know, at least 1 mana, and 2 if you want to use a stronger effect. You know, artifacts don't cost any mana. I mean, I can't think of I'm sure maybe there's a card somewhere that, you know, cost mana, but usually they just play and, you know, resolve the effect. But yeah, with mazes, you can't, you pay 2 for 6 movements, and you can't use move points from the move phase that are left over. Usually, the way the turns go, and I'll use this flow sheet over here, you have a movement and action phase. So this is from the Lost Legion manual. They kind of changed some of the wording and technicalities. So if you only own the base game, then some things might be worded differently. But during your turn, you have movement and action phase. So whatever movement points you have during the movement phase, once you flip over to another phase, the general rule is that anything that you saved up, whether movement, influence, heal, whatever, I believe it gets lost in transition to the action phase. So yeah, so you can't use all, like if you went move 8 and decide you have 6 movement left over from one of the residual cards or whatnot, you can't go to the action and use that. You're going to have to actually spend movement, focus on that action phase that you take. So they're tricky to use. It's not like I can just, use up a bunch of movement cards and have my leftovers and add them to that. So I generally don't like to go there unless, it's something that works. So instead, I think we're going to focus on building up a reputation a little bit and killing this rampaging enemy, this wolf riding looking orc over here. Now we'll just have to see what we have in our hand to be able to take that guy out. So we've already spent our peasants. We actually have several things. He only takes 4 movement, or 4 armor to kill, or 4 damage. He's got this guy right here. He's got 4 armor, 3 attack, and look, we got another swiftness. They seem to be popular in this game. And he's worth 3 fame. So I have range attack 3. The only problem is I have no mana to generate that range attack 3. The only mana I have in the source are blue. Let's see, we have battle versatility, which actually it gives me range attack 3, and we also just earned this skill over here, which if I flip it over I can get a red crystal and a red mana token. Difference between red crystals and tokens, or crystals and tokens in general, is if something tells you have a token, you only have that to the end of your turn. At the end of your turn you discard that, whereas crystals, they go to your inventory, and to use them you just pull it out of that inventory box and it turns into a token, so to speak. So I have a way of generating range attack 3. Now my problem is I don't have a way of adding on making that range attack 4. We already use a concentrate, so I can't use concentration to get a token. I believe our crystallize has already been used too. And we've already used 1 swiftness, so the chances that there is a card that will generate mana for me on the in the draw pile are next to none. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to probably just soak up his attack, take some wounds, because even though we just used refreshing walk, look, we still have tranquility, which lets you heal 2 or draw 3. Also, that guy only does 1 point of damage, or let me correct that. He only does 3 damage. So that 3 damage, technically against me, it will cause me to generate 2 wounds, because remember, you take the 3, get a wound, and subtract it by 2. Whatever's left over, do the same thing, so I get another wound. But you are allowed to assign damage to your units. Now these peasants over here, they have armor of 3, so this will only go into that once. You get 3 damage, 3 armor, he gets wounded once. And to heal these guys, it costs 1 point of healing per every level that the character is. So it only costs heal 1 to heal this guy. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and choose to attack him. We're going to skip the range and siege attack phase. I'm going to go ahead and place his marker over here so we can kind of just look at it a little bit. So we're going to skip range and siege. We're going to skip the block phase because I don't have block 6 since he's got swiftness. He's going to go ahead and assign his damage. So we're going to assign that damage to our peasants over here, or our poor loyal peasants that carried us on their shoulders to the keep. We decided to throw them under and push them in front of the wolf riding orc, and he gets trampled while the guy's charging us, so he takes a wound. But don't worry, peasants, we will avenge you with our mana producing ability. So I'm going to flip this. We'll get 1 crystal. And I'm going to go ahead and use this one crystal and put it in my inventory because I don't need to turn that one to a mana token. And I will get a red mana token. Now that red mana token, I could use this attack 4, but this one's I could use a battle versatility, but I also have rage, which can accomplish the same thing, and it's all that's really made to be. And I can save this in case I need it for something else on this turn or this round. So I'm gonna go ahead and use rage, the attack 4, and that 4 damage should be enough to get through this guy. So we will defeat him, and we'll get our 3 fame. So 2 things happen when you defeat a marauding or a rampaging enemy. You get your fame, 2, 3, for how much he's worth, but you also, for the green guys or for the orcs, you will take a reputation bonus, or you'll gain a reputation for killing them. Now the dragons that are on the map, they're considered rampaging enemies too, and they will actually give you 2 reputation. So that's a good way to generate reputation if the villagers and everyone hate you and you're down towards the negative. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and place this skill token back towards my area. And these are the 2 cards that we've used. Now, before the turn's over, I'm going to play Tranquility, just a base effect. It says heal 1 or draw a card. I'm going to use that heal 1 to heal our peasants. So after our peasants have been trampled by the wolf rider, we go over there and kindly pick them up and dust them. Alright, and that will be the end of our turn. Put these 3 cards in our discard pile. We rolled a red mana die. And since we're still on our keep and we still have the planning effect, so we'll draw up to 7 again. Now, we've actually run out of cards, so the most I could draw was 5. So what that means is on the next turn, I can either declare end of round or I can choose to play my turn. Looks like the dummy players run out of cards too, but he has not declared end of round yet. So I'm going to use this opportunity to see what I can do. It's generally not a good idea to declare end of round on a solo game, because you want as much time as possible. Where if you're playing multiplayer and you're doing better than your opponent, yeah, you want to declare end of round so that they can, if you have nothing else to do, so that they don't get use of the cards. But during the solo and co-op, it's not a good idea to rush that, because time is the limiting factor in this game, since you can't die technically. So we have influence 2 or influence 5 with a reputation -1. And we got another move card, and we got improvisation. This card's kind of at first glance it looks pretty good, but what it does is it allows you to turn a useless turn into an okay turn. So you see it says discard another card from your hand to get move 3, influence 3, attack 3, block 3. So pretty much this card becomes anything you wanted to plus another card that you decided was useless to you. So if you want it to be an attack 3, pretend this is an attack 2/4 card, and you play that with, say, this influence card sideways for 1 point. That's the caveat, is you have to turn one of your cards useless to turn this into what you want it to be. And then the power effect is the same thing. Discard another card and turn it into a move 5, influence 5, attack 5, block 5. So it's pretty much just to kind of, as the name says, improvisation. So we may be using that as we go to the monastery. I try to run through this scenario in my head a little bit, and I don't really see a way to make it to that monastery. And what I wanted to do was use improvisation for this card and get influence 5. That way I wouldn't have to take a reputation hit from, holding a dagger to someone's throat and tell them, hey, train me or else. But it looks like the way the card's working out, it's going to have to be the violent method of learning. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to use the red mana. Let me play an improvisation, and I will be using battle versatility, unfortunately, to move. So I'll discard that one for 5, and I'll be using March. I guess at this point it doesn't really matter. I'll be using March for move 2, so that'll generate me 5, 6, 7 movement, because it costs 3 to go into the hills over here. So I'll be moving, oops, watch out for the fissure, 3, 6, And I will be on the monastery. So that's 5, 6, 7. Alright. So, remember how I told you all earlier that this special card over here is training of some sort. Whenever you're on a monastery, you can pay 6 influence to pick up one of their special cards. And this one, it gives you influence 2 or influence 4. Now, another option on monasteries on top of that, you can also pay 2 influence to heal 1 point. And, or you can burn down a monastery. Now, when you burn down a monastery, you take a reputation hit -3. Units will not fight for you, and you fight a purple enemy. You know, the same similar type enemies that you see in the Mage Tower, you'll be fighting in the burned down monastery. So the bonuses that you'll get from burning down a monastery is you get the fame from killing that enemy, plus you get to draw an artifact card. That may be something we'll consider next round, but for right now, we're gonna pretend to play nice. Although how nice we're actually gonna pretend to be, I don't know, because we're gonna go in there with daggers in our hand and threatening the monks in there and telling them to train us. So that's what we're gonna do. That crystal that we generated from our power, we're gonna go ahead and use that. So that'll give us influence 5, and then we'll play a card sideways, and that'll give us influence 6. Our reputation track is barely above -1. We're at the last point of 0, so we won't take a penalty to influence. And what that means now is that we have picked up this card, Learning. So that will go on top of our deed deck. And then this card says at the end of your turn, reputation -1. So take a reputation hit, roll a die. That's black mana, so. And then put all these cards in our discard pile. And then we draw up to our hand size, which will be just that Learning card. Now the learning, or the training, should I say, over in the monastery, once you buy a card, that stack doesn't replenish until the next round. So I can't just sit there and every time I learn something, get another card, kind of like the advanced actions track. I have to wait till the next round before I can train again over there. That is the end of that turn. And the dummy player has declared end of round. So what that means is we have one more turn we can do. Now there's really not much we can do with Learning, influence 2, influence 4. We're staying in a monastery, you can't use that to beat up anybody. Let's see, we can recruit units, but we don't have any units to recruit at the monastery. We can heal, but we don't have any points of healing, training, and we don't want to burn the monastery down right now because we would get our butts kicked. So that will be it for the round, and here next time I'll be starting us on round 2.